The glory that you have been waiting for is not forgotten in heaven. It is being woven in quiet corridors of divine intent. Often, the soul despairs because it sees no movement, no flash of light, no sign that the waiting has meaning. Yet the author of your story is not slow. He is deliberate. His timing is never rushed by your tears nor delayed by your confusion. There is a sanctity in stillness, a holiness in delay, and a fierce love that hides itself until the appointed hour. The seasons know their turn because heaven set them in rhythm. So does your destiny move with that same invisible harmony. The silence you feel is not abandonment. It is orchestration. What you perceive as emptiness is often the chamber where glory is forming, unseen but alive. When the sculptor works, he removes what does not belong. When the potter shapes, he presses and turns, and when the refiner tests the gold, he waits for his reflection to appear. Such is your waiting. It is not punishment but preparation. The glory that is coming cannot be built on noise. It must be born in the womb of quiet faith. You have not been buried. You have been planted. The soil is dark, but the seed does not protest the darkness, for it knows that light will call it upward when the time comes. Every unanswered prayer, every delay, every disappointment has been folded into a divine architecture you cannot yet see. The one who began your story has not put down his pen. He is still writing, still aligning, still calling forth what he has promised. The heavens are not indifferent to your waiting. They are rehearsing your arrival. Angels prepare doors before the footsteps reach them. What you thought was the end of your story was only the silence between two movements of a symphony. The glory you have been waiting for is not on its way. It is already unfolding, veiled by the ordinary, disguised as delay. Wait then, not with despair but with wonder. For the night sky looks empty until the stars appear. He who designed the movement of galaxies is not unaware of the clock that ticks within your anxious heart. To you, time feels like a chain, each second stretching, each day echoing with the H of not yet. But to heaven, time is a servant, not a master. The delay that burdens you is, in truth, a kindness that shields you from what is premature. Divine purpose never hurries because it is eternal. The plans of eternity cannot be forced by the impatience of earth. Every promise carries a season, and seasons cannot be skipped without spoiling their fruit. When you think heaven is late, it is often because your eyes are fixed on the calendar, while heaven is working in the heart. The unseen hours are not wasted. They are sacred. The roots of great oaks grow silently before their branches dare to touch the wind. You cannot see how heaven rearranges circumstances, aligns people, and prepares paths for your arrival. The silence you call delay is actually the sound of divine precision. The waiting room of God is not a place of neglect. It is the workshop of miracles. If you could see how many times heaven has rearranged the pieces for your protection, you would weep not from sorrow but from awe. The hand that delays your desire is the same hand that guards it until you are ready to receive it without losing yourself in it. Glory is not given to the unprepared heart. It would crush rather than crown. And so, heaven waits, not because it is unwilling, but because it is wise. Remember that even the stars were not hung all at once. They were spoken into being in rhythm and order. The same voice that said, "Let there be light," speaks over your life with equal precision. When the time comes, the doors that resisted you will open as if they had been waiting for your touch. What felt like lost years will reveal themselves as years of shaping. The disappointments you counted as detours will become the very paths of deliverance. The divine plan is not measured in minutes but in meaning. What seems like slowness to man is patience to God. He is not late. He is exact. Heaven's clock never falters, never stutters, never misses a strike. And when the appointed time arrives, the alignment will be so perfect that you will forget the pain of the wait. You will see that every delay was mercy, every silence was strategy, every pause was preparation. For in the end, heaven is never late. It is always right on time. Every soul that has ever walked through the valley of waiting has stood before the altar of delay. Where hope is tested and faith is stripped of its ornaments. In that sacred place, words fall silent, prayers seem unanswered, and the heart trembles between belief and despair. Yet it is there, precisely there, that heaven does its deepest work. For delay is not a punishment, it is the furnace where trust is purified. It is the ground where shallow faith dies and steadfast faith is born. When the answer tarries, the soul is forced to decide. Will it still believe when sight offers no evidence? Will it still love the unseen when silence stretches on? This is the holy transaction of delay. It trades comfort for conviction, emotion for endurance, and fear for faith that cannot be shaken. It teaches the soul to anchor itself not in outcomes, but in the character of the one who promised. For promises are not merely words. They are reflections of the promiser. Every delay builds an altar, and on that altar, something must be laid down. Your timeline, your pride, your certainty, your need for control. It is no easy sacrifice. The heart burns as it lets go of what it thought it needed to survive. Yet as the smoke of surrender rises, heaven breathes upon it, and something unseen begins to live within you. A quiet strength, a refined trust, a peace that no explanation could ever give. The delay becomes holy ground. Look through the pages of history, and see how every soul destined for greatness walked this same path. The ones who carried glory were first acquainted with waiting. The patriarch waited for a son, the shepherd waited for a throne, the exile waited for restoration. Each delay carved humility, discipline, and dependence. The longer the waiting, the deeper the roots. And when the glory came, they were able to bear its weight, not be broken by it. You may think the silence means heaven has forgotten, but heaven forgets nothing. The fire of waiting refines, not destroys. What looks like inactivity is divine intimacy. A father training his child to walk by faith, not by sight. The altar of delay is where the heart learns that God's faithfulness is not measured by speed, but by substance. The answer may come late by your reckoning, but when it comes, it will not merely change your circumstance, it will transform you. So let the altar stand. Let patience do its work. For every tear shed there is not wasted, it waters the soil of future joy. And one day, when the promise unfolds, you will not only thank God for the glory, you will thank Him for the waiting that made you ready to receive it. There are moments when loss enters like a thief in the night, quiet, sudden, merciless. It strips away what you once thought you could not live without: dreams, people, places, seasons that once defined your joy. You are left standing in the aftermath, surrounded by the silence of what used to be, wondering why heaven allowed such breaking. Yet if you look deeper, beneath the ache, you will see the tender work of divine pruning. The vine that bears fruit must be cut back so it can bear more. It feels cruel in the moment, but it is kindness disguised as pain. Loss is never random in the life of the beloved. It is never a careless subtraction, it is a holy adjustment. The gardener knows the difference between what is living and what is draining life. You may not recognize it while you bleed, but heaven does. Some branches looked beautiful. They bore leaves and shade, but they hid disease at their core. Others bore fruit once but grew wild and tangled, choking new growth. So the shears came, and the vine cried out, not knowing the hand that cut was the same hand that planted. When you wept over what you lost, heaven was not indifferent. Every tear was gathered, every cry recorded. But heaven saw what you could not, that the branch must be trimmed before it breaks under its own weight. You thought you were being emptied. In truth, you were being cleared. Every ending has within it a beginning you cannot yet see. The pruning was never to shame you, but to shape you. What was removed was not meant to destroy your beauty, but to deepen your roots. The soul that has known loss knows also the language of heaven. It learns to distinguish between what sparkles and what endures, between comfort and calling, between pleasure and purpose. Pruning refines your appetite for the eternal. It loosens your grip on what was temporary and teaches you to hold fast to what cannot die. The world sees loss as weakness, but heaven calls it strengthening. The cut branches will sprout again, but this time with fruit that will not wither. Do not mourn as though you have been robbed, you have been refined. The branches that once sprawled in every direction are now being guided toward the sun. The parts of your life that seemed reduced were actually realigned. You are being prepared for glory, not diminished by pain. The pruning is the promise in disguise, the evidence that the gardener has not abandoned his vineyard. For if he prunes, it means he still expects fruit. And when the new season comes, what once looked barren will burst forth with abundance. The loss you feared will be the soil of your becoming. There is a glory being prepared, one so radiant, so encompassing, that when it arrives, it will cast light backward through every shadow you have ever walked. You will look upon your pain not as an enemy, but as the narrow gate through which divine strength entered your soul. The ache that once threatened to break you was not destruction. It was construction. Heaven has been building something eternal in the secret places of your suffering. Every wound that seemed unanswered was heard. Every silence that stung was holy restraint. The one who promised restoration has never lied. You have seen the fragments, but not yet the masterpiece. The hands that allowed the storm are the same hands that calm the sea. When glory comes, it will not come timidly. It will come like dawn breaking over centuries of night. The darkness will not argue with the light. It will vanish. And with it will vanish the questions that tormented your faith. You will not ask, why? Anymore, for the answer will stand before you clothed in beauty. The waiting will be redeemed. Every delay will reveal its hidden mercy. You will see how every, not yet, preserved what would have perished had it come too soon. Heaven's timing will unfold like a tapestry, and you will gasp to find that even your detours were part of the design. The threads that once looked tangled were only waiting for the light of fulfillment to reveal their pattern. What once felt like waste will gleam with divine intention, and the pain, it will be justified. Not excused, not erased, but transfigured. It will be seen for what it truly was, the cradle of your strength, the forge of your faith, the soil of your compassion. The tears you shed became rivers of empathy that now flow toward others. The loneliness that hollowed you made space for the presence that never leaves. The breaking of your plans made room for the unfolding of his purpose. What felt like loss was actually gain concealed in mystery. When the glory appears, you will not even recognize yourself. The timid heart will have become courageous, the weary soul radiant, the once wounded spirit overflowing with life. Every doubt will fall silent before the evidence of divine faithfulness. The pain will not merely end. It will make sense. You will understand that heaven was not withholding good from you. It was perfecting it. You will realize that what seemed like ruin was actually resurrection waiting for its cue. For when glory comes, it does not apologize for the pain, it fulfills it. It turns ashes into crowns, graves into gardens, and silence into songs. It reveals that no night was wasted, no tear forgotten, no suffering unseen. The weight of the glory to come will make even the heaviest burdens of your past feel light in comparison. And you will know with trembling joy that it was all worth it, that the story was beautiful all along. The moment of divine unveiling does not come quietly. It does not creep in like a timid visitor. It bursts forth like sunrise over a weary land. When the glory you have been waiting for finally arrives, it will not need introduction. It will announce itself with radiance. The years that felt buried in silence will break open with such brilliance that you will scarcely remember the nights that preceded it. For the light that heaven sends is not soft, it is triumphant. It sweeps through every corridor of your story, finding the forgotten rooms where sorrow once hid and filling them with the warmth of divine completion. Every shadow that mocked you in your waiting will bow when glory enters. The lies that said, "You were forgotten," will be silenced. The doubts that whispered, "It will never come," will dissolve in the brightness of fulfillment. The same heart that trembled with uncertainty will stand unshaken, because when divine promise meets divine timing, the world itself must yield. The mountains that seemed immovable will shift, the doors that refused to open will swing wide, and the valleys of despair will echo with songs of deliverance. The arrival of glory is not merely a change of circumstance. It is a transformation of presence. You will not only see the goodness of God, you will feel it wrap around you like sunlight after years of storm. Every scar will gleam with purpose. Every unanswered prayer will reveal its reason. The pain that once defined your nights will become the testimony that defines your dawn. For when heaven moves, it does not repair halfway, it restores completely. The glory that comes will be both external and internal. Outward beauty mirroring inward renewal. You will find that your heart has been expanded to hold what once would have overwhelmed you. You will laugh without fear, worship without restraint, and walk without the weight of the old seasons. What once broke you will now become the platform from which you shine. The very things that threaten to destroy you will become proof that divine grace never abandons its own. And it will not be quiet. The glory that heaven sends cannot be contained in subtlety. It will resound in your life, echoing through the eyes of those who see the change and cannot deny that God was at work all along. The story that once brought tears will now bring awe. Your life will become a proclamation, a living declaration that heaven finishes what it begins. When that glory stands before you, there will be no trace of bitterness left, only wonder. You will not ask, "Why did I suffer?" You will say, "Now I see." Every shadow will bow before that light, for no darkness can stand where divine glory reigns. And the dawn that breaks upon your life will not fade. It will grow brighter, until every corner of your being reflects the brilliance of the one who never forgot you, never left you, and never failed to keep his promise. Every story written by divine hands passes through night, but none end in darkness. The pain that seemed final, the silence that felt endless, the valley that appeared to have no exit, all of it is folded into a grand narrative that ends in glory. What you thought was over was only the middle. What you feared was ruin was actually the soil of resurrection. For the author of time never writes tragedy without planting triumph within it. There will come a day when you will look back and realize that even the chapters that made you weep were part of the music. Every loss will have found its reason, every heartbreak its healing, every delay its divine rhythm. The hand that led you through the fire will be the same hand that crowns you with joy. You will see that nothing was wasted, not one tear, not one waiting hour, not one unanswered prayer. Everything was preparing you for the unveiling of a glory so vast, it will take eternity to comprehend. The story ends not with your striving, but with his victory. It will not close in sorrow, but in song. The darkness that once loomed will be seen for what it truly was. A backdrop for the brilliance that was coming. Heaven will rewrite your almosts into at last, your not yet, into now, and your broken places into beauty beyond measure. You will find that the ending is not an end at all, but the beginning of a joy that has no dusk. When all is said and done, you will stand where pain once stood, clothed not in weariness but in wonder, and the only words left upon your lips will be gratitude. For you will see that the story, your story, was never one of despair, but of divine glory slowly revealed, chapter by chapter, until at last the final page shines with the light that never fades. Every shadow you have walked through, every tear you have buried in silence, every moment when you thought the story had ended in defeat, all of it was the prelude to a dawn beyond imagining. For dawn is never timid. It comes after the longest night, bursting through with a brilliance that the darkness cannot contain. The pain that pressed against your spirit, the seasons that seemed to stretch without mercy, were never wasted. They were labor pains of glory. Heaven never allows endurance without reward, nor suffering without sacred return. The night is long only because the light being prepared is vast. You may have stood in seasons that felt like exile, estranged from your own purpose, cut off from promise, watching others walk in joy while you remained in waiting. But the one who wrote your timeline never abandoned the script. He was not still. He was setting the stage, weaving together events that would align in the perfect moment. The silence of heaven was not absence. It was incubation. Something holy was forming beneath the surface, something too heavy for early arrival. The roots of greatness grow deep in hidden soil before they break through in strength. When that dawn comes, it will come suddenly, yet it will not surprise heaven. It will only surprise you. It will rise like fire over the hills of despair, burning away the residue of waiting, illuminating the truth that you were never forgotten. Every closed door will reveal its reason, every detour its direction, every loss its lesson. The wounds that once felt like the end will glow with the marks of transformation. What once looked like ruin will become the very proof that divine power was at work in secret. This dawn will not simply change your surroundings, it will change your sight. You will see the world differently, yourself differently, even the pain differently. You will recognize that what felt like endless night was, in truth, divine orchestration teaching you how to trust light before you could see it. You will stand in the very place where you once cried and realize that every tear was watering the ground where your joy would bloom. The dawn will not just erase the memory of the dark, it will give it meaning. For heaven's glory is not measured by how quickly it comes, but by how completely it restores. When the sun rises after the longest night, it does not merely brighten the sky. It awakens everything beneath it. Flowers unfold, birds return, rivers gleam. So it will be with your life. The things that fell asleep in sorrow will awaken in praise. The dreams you thought had died will rise again, renewed and purified. You will see that the delay did not destroy them, it deepened them. The waiting did not weaken your promise, it strengthened your roots. And when you walk in that new light, you will carry no bitterness for the darkness. You will bless the night that taught you to love the dawn. You will thank the tears that cleared your eyes, the silence that sharpened your hearing, the pain that softened your heart. For all of it will have been part of a divine exchange. The night giving birth to morning, the cross yielding the crown, the waiting unveiling the wonder. The dawn that is coming will not whisper, it will sing. Its light will stretch farther than you dreamed, touching even the places you thought were lost forever. It will redeem every hour that seemed stolen and restore every hope you buried. And as it rises, you will finally understand that the darkness was not your enemy. It was your midwife. For without it, you could never have seen how radiant the light truly is. The glory you have been waiting for is not just near. It is breaking even now, beyond the horizon of your sight. And when it arrives, it will not be small. It will be vast, victorious, and eternal. Heaven's own sunrise written across the sky of your life.